And we're live. Welcome back to the Sports Doyen. This is the preview of the UEFA Euros 2020. This is about Group C and Group D, is what our topic of discussion is today. Just for the viewers, there are some interesting teams in these groups. Obviously, Netherlands and Austria are in Group C, and in Group D, the most anticipated team, as usual, as every World Cup or Euros come around, the English team is always highly talked about, and it will be a matter of huge discussion
And
today
they
as
don't do
well.
much.
And and they don't do much to add to all of that discussion, which is the motto, I guess. Talk a lot but don't do much. And obviously Croatia, who don't talk a lot but they do quite some bit, and 2018's World Cup finalists will be raring to go once again, that's fair to say. But yeah, I mean, an interesting Group D there, and Group C as well is quite competitive if you look at it in itself. Group D matches also will include Scotland and Czech Republic for England and Croatia to handle. So they will have tough competition there. England, obviously, with Scotland being a massive, massive game for them. And for the Dutch, along with Austria, they have Ukraine and North Macedonia, who I think it's pretty clear there which will be the team that will probably finish last. But let's begin with the Group D, Anurag and Siddharth. Let's begin with Croatia, the World Cup finalists. Obviously, it hasn't been the same, we might say, after that, the highs of the World Cup. But going into another tournament, Croatia, although they don't look, in the best of their forms, if you look at what Croatia have done of late, they have lost to Belgium, they've drawn to Armenia, they've lost to Slovenia, they've lost to Portugal, they've lost to Sweden as well. So all of these results have come in, say, somewhere around the last 6-7 months, which hasn't been quite bright for them. Going into the Euros, what could potentially be their mentality, Anurag?
Uh, I don't know. I think it's very different to the team that appeared in 2018. At least maybe personal wise, not incredibly different, but I think confidence wise, yes. Uh, what I worry about Croatia is I think they are missing. Uh, they miss that solid. There you go. Apparently, Lancashire has been doing well. Lancashire Lightning has been doing well, and you see Nathan Barkley there. No matter
Yeah,
what the
Nathan with his
discussion is, he
England,
will bring it up.
yeah, with his England
Yep.
agenda today. So yeah, Anurag, we're just talking
Uh,
about Croatia.
again, yeah. Continuing about Croatia. Uh, 1 second. Sorry. Uh, they don't have Ivan Perisic. I'm sorry, Ivan Rakitic, which is going to be a huge miss because I think he was quite immense last time. Uh, he did score two match-winning penalties as well, if I remember, in the two penalty shootouts they were a part of. One against Denmark and the other against Russia. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't there is not a lot of penetration in that midfield. You know what I mean? Like there are some good players.
yeah,
There's Kovacic again. From someone you can expect a few things, but towards the last half of the season he was mostly injured. Uh, so you're not, I'm not 100% sure as to what kind of a Kovacic can we expect in the Euros, but if we can see that the prime guy who's been bossing midfield whenever he's been on the field for Chelsea in the last 1 or 2 seasons, if that guy appears, I think then maybe I think it's going to be great support for both Brozovic and Croatia. And this team predominantly, whenever they've done well, let it be in the '98 World Cup when they've done well, they reached the semi-final, lost to France back then as well. Uh, whenever they do well, it's always their midfield. So again, it's going to be very midfield heavy team. And I was just looking at the squad and looking at how their forwards have been performing. As you've mentioned, Budimir has been doing well. Uh, he's had a good season for Sasuna, and Andrej Kramaric. He's the guy. I think he's going to be their target man this time. Scored 20 goals in the Bundesliga. Good enough. I mean, good enough to spin a
yeah.
few hopes on. Rebic had some good moments last time. Uh, I think he scored against Argentina. He scored against Russia, as far as I remember. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's see. As far as hopes go, I think Scotland have a promising team. Scotland have at least they have some very assured names in their side. it's gonna be tight. I wouldn't say it's going to be like there's obviously historic quality difference. There's history difference and there's a quality difference between both the sides. But Scotland could produce one or two upsets here because I think when you have players like Robertson, Trippier, and up front you have Shea Adams, who's not been bad this season, who's been a
Yeah.
very promising prospect for Southampton, and they have Ollie McBurney. uh, Scott McTominay in the midfield, you never know what kind of a Scott McTominay turns up unless. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, it's going to be very very interesting. I'm really looking forward to Croatia. I think they'll just about nick it, that second place, or maybe
Yeah. I
they'll
think
finish first.
Croatia
You never know.
Croatia could finish first because, at the end of the day, we're talking about England, Scotland as well. They will be having quite a healthy battle. And before we go to the England fan, Nathan, I'll just talk a little bit about Croatia to Siddharth. Sid, obviously, as Anurag also mentioned, the team hasn't been the same. If you just look at their lineup, they've been playing Rebic, Perisic, and Petkovic in the last few games. Obviously, there will be a change there. Maybe Kramaric comes in, or I think Rebic moves more central. But you will see a change in the forward line. The midfield is a little more assured with Modric, Brozovic, and Kovacic. Uh, how do you expect this team, especially going forward? Because I think even last year, or even in the World Cup more so, I think Croatia's defense was one of the reasons why they got there. But this time, considering you look at the defense, it's aging again. I think Visalko is the only
Kepa
probably
Vida is there.
younger
Yeah.
version of players. Yeah, Vida is not getting any younger either. So they have an aging defense, which probably is the case for a lot of teams. But going forward, how is that the most key thing for them now?
I think the problem with Croatia is that ever since that defeat in the final against France, I think they haven't been able to pick themselves up. You know, the squad as much, I mean, more or less remain the same. You would look at that their performances and feel like that 2018 World Cup was probably the prime of their squad. And since then it's been a complete decline. You know, you look at, they've lost against Portugal. I mean,
Yeah,
it's been a bit harsh as well because the UEFA Nations League group that they were
right.
drawn, they drew against Portugal and Spain. That wasn't going to be a momentum
Yeah,
lifter, although it's pretty challenging. Wasn't going to be a big momentum lifter. So there's been a line of poor results. I won't say poor performances. I think the midfield is still pretty solid, although Modric looks like he's also seen the best of him behind him. But
yeah,
it's still pretty packed, you know. The problem then lies in the front line. I think they haven't been able to score enough goals, you know. The forwards haven't stepped up. We know what Rebic and Kramaric are capable of, but they haven't somehow been able to pull off what Mario Mandzukic would have or has had used to do for Croatia, right? So they have a very good squad. They still have a very good squad, and you would expect them to pull at least through the group stages, you know. But I mean, the forward line has to step up. The midfield is still pretty good. Also, the defense, you know. Uh, I mean, hasn't again as you said, aging players. Lovren and Vida are obviously not what they won't be what they were in the 2018 World Cup. So if you look at the squad, you know you expect them to get through the group stages, but what lies ahead is going to be very very tough.
yeah. What lies ahead indeed is going to be very tough for Croatia, and I think it will be. You still expect a little bit more from them. You still expect the fact that they might possibly qualify from this group. Although Scotland are one of those teams who you can never pin down and say that they are not going to be part of that race. They are definitely going to be there as well. But moving to the big team of Group D, and probably a massive discussion point for us today, and that's what the majority of the discussion is going to be. Nathan, the Three Lions and England are once again on show, and before we move on to the team selections, the possible formations, and everything else, uh, is Southgate the man to bring it home?
Well, you are asking 2 days before a tournament, so the optimism is high in England. Oh, well, a couple of days. Does it start Saturday or Sunday anyway?
Yeah, it starts on 11th, so in a couple of days. Yeah.
All right, so it is 2 days. So the optimism is high across the whole of England that we can at least go to the next stage. He has taken us to 2 semis. So is it time to go to the finals?
Yeah, I think finals are the way to go, and I think possibly that is what England will be looking forward to as well. Kushagra has, by the way, joined us. Welcome back to the OG host. Kushagra, obviously, you have had a fantastic conversation with Mr. Norcross yesterday, and we obviously released that video as well today. Do check it out on the YouTube channel. We discuss about a few things that Nathan, obviously, you would like as well. We talked about New Zealand and super overs and everything else. So, do watch that video, the unpopular opinions, and over to you.
Thank you, man. Isn't it quite fitting that we're talking about England? The one country, as Nathan himself said, it's 2 days before the tournament. I'm sure the entire nation must be excited around it. But talking of their opponents, I just wanted to know, and just one final question from Nathan as well. What do you make of that Phil Foden haircut? Do you think he's going to do a full Gaza again once again in 2021? It's 25 years to the day, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. Nathan, you're on mute, man.
You're on mute.
Poor guy struggling just like England's attack in the Euros.
Come on.
My phone just freezes sometimes, so it takes about 4. That's why I used to prepare while she's typing saying the question. That's why I used to try and unmute. No, he's going to do better than Gaza. He's going to take it home.
Yeah, Gaza did miss that chance, right, in the semi-final?
Yeah. Foden won.
If Phil Foden will score in the TSD Super League as well, Kushan.
I mean, that's really not the point of topic, but yes, of course, it's always interesting, as Nathan said in the comments as well. I think opposition fans tend to get their knickers in a twist whenever English fans do sing this. Though I personally find the song quite funny and amusing, honestly. I think it's a fun song.
And here we go, another copyright notice tomorrow morning.
25th of June, I'll be the one playing.
I remember Gary Neville talking to Harry Kane about 12th of July. It seems a long way ahead now.
I mean, of course, we're not really discussing Euros and its finality here. Only here discussing the group. If you look at the other top contenders in the group, of course, that is Croatia. The first game for both the big countries in that manner is against each other, Croatia on England. I'll come to you, Anurag. Considering this is the semi-final matchup from 3 years back, and England do not have particularly fond memories of this match, might I add. But if you compare both the Croatia teams from 2018 to the one right now, I think England should be more than confident of actually getting the points here, because generally do think England have a better team now as compared to 3 years back, and Croatia I feel like the top stars have aged rather than anything else. Over the past 3 years, don't really have that much of new talent coming into their squad. So what do you make of their chances in the tournament?
So we just did Croatia, but just adding to certain points that we were mentioning, the defense. Prathamesh did add up on that. I don't think there is any vocal presence as such. That Lovren is. I don't think Lovren has ever had a prime. Demago Vida, he scored some important goals last time. I think there's someone in the box who can be trusted with some offensive contribution, but not how much of a defensive contribution last time was good. You can't really expect that much. Varsalko is Varsalko. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Varsalko, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think at least if you look at their defense, you look at all the names. Uh, it's not a lot of names coming in from the big clubs or the considerable clubs. Uh, Bradovich was a part of Lille, if I'm not wrong. Again, I'm not again not a
Yeah,
person who
yeah.
might get into the main team. So I'm not very sure how far these people can go. Uh, I think that that game against Scotland between these teams, I know I'm pinning few too many few hopes on Scotland here, but
No,
I think that game against Scotland will be very interesting.
you do. And my bad. I started once again with Croatia. That's what happens when you go for a shower right before starting a 10 p.m. Live. But anyway, coming back to
Yeah.
it, coming back to sorry, Anurag. We move on to Croatia's first opponents, as we did with Nathan. As we started talking about England, a bit on England before we move on to probably Scotland and and look at the matchup that
बहुत
you're
बात
talking
करेंगे इंग्लैंड
about.
में क्या बात है
Yeah,
Yeah. So
England's an hour of content.
my question to you, Anurag, would be, Gareth Southgate. He has often been criticized about playing conservative football. Not particularly utilizing the attacking talent that he has. Right now, when we look at it, we look at, I guess, 4 to 5 really good support players as compared to the striker that England have, which is going to be Harry Kane, I assume. So you've got the likes of Rashford, Sancho, Grealish, Sterling, and all of these fantastic attacking players. And what it looks like, the way Southgate is probably going to approach the tournament, it's either going to be a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2. He's highly going to sacrifice his attacking players in that manner. And do you think we would
Yeah,
rather be we would I think England would rather be better served if they had more of an all-out attacking approach?
they would be, I think, uh, but you never know what kind of a. I think it's a defensive lack of confidence from Southgate on his players. Also, Maguire has picked up. He's not 100% fit as yet. As we know, Ben White has been roped in for Trent Alexander-Arnold. So, as it stands, I'm not 100% sure if he has that much trust on his defenders, especially the centre backs. I think the fullback options are still fantastic, but I don't think defensively, especially the central area, he's not very sure about them. So if that is the case, obviously I think the back three is one thing that is going to happen. I think that is going to happen. But yes, as you said, I think that's going to hinder the attack so much. And when you have so many amazing players, you've got Foden who's just about touching his prime area. You've got Grealish who can absolutely do anything with the ball under his feet. Uh, uh, just a small comment. I think Foden today appeared with that Paul Gascoigne hairstyle, but he's one of those. Foden is one of those players who looks far from the way Gascoigne used to play. Grealish looks more like that street smart, rugged footballer than Foden does. Uh, there is Rashford, there is Sancho. I know Sancho is not a name United fans are loving these days until he puts that shirt up. But again, what a talent!
Yeah.
And you've got the great man Harry Kane, who should have been the PFA Player of the Year, who should have been EA Sports Player of the Year, who should have been BBC Sky Sports Every
Let's
Player
not
of the
go
Year,
there,
but did
man.
not get
Come
even a
on.
single one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, will Southgate take that courageous step if even if Maguire is not there to play a normal back four and a 4-3-3? Because in that sense, you'll have an attack and a midfield which is capable of absolutely destroying any defense in the world. I think they have that ability in them. But again, that will come at a cost. I know if the defense is not good enough, that can also hinder the confidence of the attack. That works both ways. Uh, it's I think this is easily one of the best squads they've had, and this is exactly what we've been saying about England since the 80s. Uh, Not us, but a lot of people have been. Uh, I don't know, man. I think it depends. It boils down to how Southgate wants to use it. If the defense can produce some clean sheets, they are up for a big tournament. But I'm not expecting them to go too far. I'll be honest. At best, round of 16.
All right, all right. But when you look at it, Pratmesh, in terms of England, Uh, Harry Maguire is a doubt. Jordan Henderson hasn't played any real football since February.
Yes.
They are supposed to be the two main players in their spine. I'm still quite surprised he didn't select a Ward-Prowse instead of a Ben White, because I can see deficiencies in terms of carrying the ball in the midfield. And last time हमने
Right.
यही देखा था. This is where Croatia found them out in the semi-final. They did not have that many transitional players, did England, and उसकी वजह से थोड़ा फंस सी गई थी उनकी entire team, and you could sense that they were lacking that aspect, and that penetration in the midfield, or that assurity in the midfield. And abhi dekha jaye, yes, Jude Bellingham has done well in the one season that he's had at Borussia Dortmund. But once again, he's a 17, 18-year-old youngster who's just broken into the national team, who's probably just broken into the professional game at 18 to 20 months. हुए हैं उसको खेलते हुए. It's not
Right.
been a. He's not someone who's played for many years. This is probably going to be the longest season of his life by the end of it, and before he actually ends up getting any kind of a rest. And along with that, Phil Foden, once again, the same concept applies to Phil Foden as it applies to Jude Bellingham. Probably a couple more seasons ahead in his development, but still, again, very, very untested when it comes to such waters. Jadon Sancho, again, Sancho and Foden were the two players we saw in India when they came for the Under 17 World
Right.
Cup. So, those guys have summer tournament experience in that sense, but still, all of these things combined, do you think England are really lacking when it comes to those authoritative leadership figures around their dressing room, with the likes of Jordan Henderson and Harry Maguire such big doubts?
See, with England, there are multiple aspects. One is leadership, where I think you've rightly pointed out, without Maguire and Henderson on the pitch, they lack that absolute leader. And even though you might say Declan Rice or Harry Kane, and Harry Kane obviously is a massive, massive part of that leadership group, but Declan Rice as well, we've seen in this entire season how he's grown as a leader within the West Ham setup. How he looks like who could potentially be a captain for them in the long term. If he stays at West Ham, that is. So he is a player who can definitely stand up to that. We have Kyle Walker, another very senior player. Luke Shaw, although he's still integrating himself into this, rather reintegrating himself into this England setup, is again another senior figure. Connor Cody is a massive voice, whether he plays or not is an entirely different scenario. So they have leaders, but on the pitch they need to find everyone who is, I think, responsible for their own positions and a leader within their own, because that is exactly what they lacked against Croatia. And with England, it's always about what it could have been or what it should be rather than what it is. Now, this is a team that looks absolutely best suited to play 4-3-3. They look like that is exactly what they should do. They have players like Rice, Bellingham, Calvin Phillips, who can do the holding role, who can be box to box, who can do multiple aspects within the game. They can be dominant in midfield, those three players, and you have the likes of Grealish or Rashford at one side, Jadon Sancho going in the other way as well. So you have these players who can dominate wing play on either flanks, try to create options from there, and obviously you have a striker in Harry Kane. So England have the proper setup to play a 4-3-3, and in all essentiality try to reduce multiple problems that they face. One would be the fact that you lack a leader in midfield, so probably an extra person in midfield would obviously help. Another is, since Maguire's out, you are probably looking at a centre back. If he doesn't play the first game, I think he'll definitely make it by the second or third game, but he doesn't play the first game against Croatia. You are looking, curiously over your case. Probably John Stones is one player who will definitely play, but along with him, you have to ask the question whether you play Tyrone Mings, whether you play Connor Cody, or whether you play, Ben White of all people. So they have that
Bhuvnesh,
question of
Mings has made it to the squad because he's a left-footed player. So
left
since
footer.
he's made it to
Yeah,
the squad 11 में आ जाना भी इतना I don't think
it's not
that's
so
going to be a
tough.
big task for him. Again, not very
But would
impressed
you
with
But
him.
would you
But yeah.
I
would you
still
put him
think
in? That's the question.
I agree. John Stones did not have the best last month, but John
Yeah,
Stones,
he makes
probably
it.
was the best defender, best English defender in the Premier League,
He
along
was.
with Harry Maguire. Maybe I think out and out best English defender out of the Premier League probably was Luke Shaw. in terms of whether you're looking at in terms of whether it's a fullback or a centre back. But I think in terms of best English centre back, probably John Stones. Because he did come up with those clutch goals as well against United as well. If you remember, he scored twice against United, and he did score a couple of very important goals for City as well. So वो भी threat रहता है John Stones का, I think. And as Pratmesh also mentioned, Harry Maguire ka kya hai, first match so he's definitely not there. Jordan Henderson, we did see him for a little bit in the last friendly. Unfortunately for him, he missed a penalty. But once again, I was checking out. Maguire was once again not in training today as well. So I think that's something the English team would be really worried about. Rege, coming to you, bro. This whole concept of playing three at the back. Do you think England would continue sticking with three at the back, or would it be more of a chance for them to actually start playing four at the back so that they can probably flood in the midfield and allow people to express themselves, the attacking talent as we were talking about?
Well, the welcoming change in the recent friendlies has been that Gareth Southgate has shifted to a four at the back more. Uh, because I think that's one obvious thing that he has probably witnessed in the recent months. I think they have a decent five pivot now. Even if you speak about Declan Rice and Henderson, or you bring in Phillips over there, they're fairly settled in that squad. And they have that third midfielder as well, in the form of Grealish or Mount, who can who can transition well with between the role of a winger and a third midfielder. So I agree with the fact that the four at the back is their best uh, formation, but then again, Maguire has to be fit because you need a setter back to be able to play a back four consistently. They obviously the full back position is fairly settled now. I know TA is going to miss it, but they have Walker or Chilwell and Shaw on the left. Either of the two, it doesn't make much of a difference. The real I think the real conundrum that he will face is whether he'll go with the three in the midfield or go with the 4-2-3-1. Because blankly because of the kind of talent he has in those attacking midfield positions, and he hasn't gotten with a lot of central midfielders. I may tell you because we that's one obvious thing that we saw in that squad. They didn't have enough midfielders to if you see a Henderson injured or somewhere. So maybe in that case he is planning to play three attacking players in the form of maybe a Sancho or a Foden. So that I feel will determine, but I'm definitely sure he's not going to be at least starting with the three at the back because it doesn't look like he has trained the squad enough to play in that system.
All right, fair enough. I'll just carry on with the discussion. We'll have a quick look at Scotland before we do. I just have a little question for Nathan. Nathan, for me, if you look at the potential of this England team, if you look at the players that you guys could play, I think it would if Southgate really wanted, it could be actually be one of the most exciting teams in the tournament. From the very back, you've got two in terms of attacking fullbacks. If you play Reece James or a Trent on the right and Luke Shaw on the left. No, now Trent's not there. Sorry, my bad. But Reece James or a Kieran Trippier on the right and Luke Shaw on the left, along with the central midfield of Declan Rice and Mason Mount, and any combination of attackers. Guys, I've got feedback either Pratmesh from or Anurag. Guys, if you could mute yourselves. Yeah. So. So coming back to you, Nathan. The possibility for Gareth Southgate to actually end up playing and wowing us with the football is so great that I just feel like eventually he's gonna go for that solid. I'll score one, wait for it, and have a sad exit in the round of 16. Are we on course for that?
If you ask me in about 2 weeks' time, most likely, whilst we're in our good spirits. Now, all jokes aside, I think that you've just mentioned before, I think at this time we will go with a 4.
But you're saying about mounting centre midfield. I don't think he'll go there. I think he'll go with two solid centre midfielders, Rice, Phillips or Henderson. Then any of your three in the 4-2-3-1 could be picked. But as long as Jack Grealish is playing, England have the chance. And I'm no Villa fan or any fan of Jack Grealish till the last few weeks. So that's a very unbiased, but I think he has to play over any of them. You can always put an argument for someone like Sterling. He's done it for England for ages. Then you can have also Foden, who's coming up and coming. So that three is going to be difficult to pick. But as long as we pick Grealish, I think we've got every chance to get as far as we can, really. And just to add to that, I think he'll pick two centre midfielders, just purely as well. I don't think he's got the trust in the centre backs. So I actually got a cheap ticket to a Liverpool game a couple of seasons back, and Henderson was one of the best. They won 4-0 against Brighton. Henderson was one of the best players on the pitch for me. Trent and Robertson, obviously we'll have a different left back to Robertson, were up all the time, but the way he just covered the ground and dictated play was phenomenal for me. So if he's fit, it will be him and Rice. If not, I think it'll be Rice and Phillips.
Does he take the penalties though?
Also, hope he does not put Henderson on the right wing, like Paul Scholes. Just to accommodate all three of them.
No, I think that's not going to happen. But yeah, Nathan, also a non-footballing question. I've always wondered because I've never really made the effort of finding it out myself. But what about cricketers from the Merseyside? What all counties do they play for?
Sorry, what was the question?
What about cricketers from Merseyside? What all counties do they play for, or do they fall under Lancashire itself? No.
From where?
From Merseyside, Liverpool.
Merseyside, they'll be Lancashire.
Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it? They play cricket together but can't stand each other in football.
Yeah, but just speaking of Lancashire and Liam Livingstone, a 94 not out in his victory today was a very good watch for me.
He should have played ahead of Butler.
Of course, whether it's the Euros or whether it's anything else, we can't ever escape Liam Livingstone's greatness. So it has to be mentioned. We have got to acknowledge it and bow our heads to it and move along as we do always. And Matt Parkinson, of course, the one and only Matt Parkinson. But yes, coming back to you guys, we're going to have a cheeky look at.
Parkinson got a free for today as well.
So wow, what a sporting day for you, isn't it, Nathan? You must be on top of the moon. Were you supporting Rafa as well?
Tennis?
Yeah. I thought you were just going for the Holy Trinity. You don't care. Right?
I couldn't care less about tennis.
At least he's honest.
Since Andy Murray retired.
It's really funny. Do you remember when Andy Murray was number one ranking? He was very British. Once he started fading away, went from British to very Scottish.
I saw your tweet. Someone picked it up.
Yeah, even I saw that.
So I noticed tweet his Facebook post, but Andy Murray,
at least it was clean.
Yeah. Oh God! Yes, I do remember. There's a very British vibe to Andy Murray winning the Wimbledon, and you could see all of these famous Scotsmen there, from Sean Connery to Sir Alex to Gerard Butler, and all of these guys are there cheering for Andy Murray. Almost felt like they all wanted to wear the kilts in, but I don't think they would allow that at SW19. But coming to the Scottish side, as I take a look, Anurag. The players that, of course, do stand out for us are the big players who are playing for the bigger teams. I'll go with Ryan Fraser, the biggest of big players, of course. And Scott McTominay. Come on, PP, we can still hear that nonsense. What is this?
He's
Mute
beating
yourself.
some eggs.
I mean, whether he's beating eggs, coffee, or something else that we don't want to know. But I just want to want him to do it on his own time. Yeah, coming to you, Anurag,
Yeah.
I look at the list of the Scottish squad. We got some fantastic players there. Some players, really to reckon with. We've talked about Scott McTominay, Kieran Tierney, and Andy Robertson and the likes. Of course, McBurney, and they've got Che Adams. They've got a pretty decent squad all in all. I think on their day, this squad can give anyone a decent run for its money. How much do you think? How much
Yep.
considering this is their fourth tournament since 94, if I'm not wrong, or 98. I'm 90. Sorry, say since 98
94.
because they went to the 96 Euros
Yep.
and they went to the 98 World Cup. Post that, this is the very first international tournament. How much of that will weigh on Scotland before the matches? And advantage to Hoga considering they will play in Scotland, they will play in England also as well here. So what do you make of their chances? Do you think they can go head into this group as the third best team?
Yeah, I think as you said, there are some names which can give a run for the money for most of the big teams. They can keep a lot of people at bay. They've got, especially, I think, quite unfortunately, they have two of the very good fullbacks, two of the most talented fullbacks you could have asked for, two of the most talented left backs in Robertson and Kieran Tierney. Unfortunately, one of them will have to be a makeshift centre back to accommodate the other person, and we all know it's going to be Tierney because Robertson, you just can't take him out of that position. I was just looking at the squad, and
or
I just observed. Yeah,
yeah, or they take you from Di Matteo and play Tierney as the left winger, like Ryan Bertrand, and use for Robertson as Ashley Cole. No, could happen. You never know.
could happen. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
yeah, definitely that is a possibility. And I was just looking at the squad, and a couple of things. I think Ollie McBurney has not been named in the squad. I just read about it like right now that he's been injured and he's not going to be a part of it, which is a miss. I would say not.
Also,
I wouldn't say a huge miss or
I think
something, but
I think Ollie McBurney was
yeah,
also involved in a fracas. I think he got involved with a Sheffield United supporter or something like that. Ended up having a fight.
yeah,
If I don't think I'm mixing identities there.
yeah.
I do remember
That's
reading a
true.
report around it. So I think that's one of the reasons he's not been picked. He was one of the favorites of being picked earlier.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely was, and the at least we Premier League watchers, we've seen a lot of Shea Adams this season. I mean, he's picked up some crucial goals. He's turned up in some big games. So that is one player you can look forward to. And I'm looking at the squad, and who are the Scottish champion Rangers, and they've done it so magnificently. So you expect at least three or four Rangers players in the squad, and surprisingly, there are just two people, both of them who are 100% not going to start. There is John McLaughlin, who's a keeper, who's definitely not going to start. And I think there is Patterson, who's a second choice right back. As a 19-year-old, he's a second choice right back for Rangers. Besides them, no other representation from Rangers, which is quite surprising for me because I mean they've just won
It's a
the Scottish
Celtic dominated
Championships
team, isn't it?
so emphatically.
Yeah, and they have
It's quite a Celtic dominated team.
representation from Motherwell. They have equal representation as Rangers from Motherwell. So I mean,
Yeah,
clearly either
yeah,
I don't know
that's quite
how many Scottish players
surprising.
play for Rangers, but surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, not
It
many,
is
not
quite
many
surprising.
actually. I think that is something a few Scottish pundits have taken to actually probably point out in terms of Steven Gerrard. So let's see how that goes for Scotland. I think the other team, of course, being the Czech Republic. I'll quickly come to you, Pratnesh. If you could just give us a little bit about the Czech Republic and if they would have any chances before we move on.
I think the question with Czech Republic will come in a sense that whom of these two teams have the potential to concede the least goals, and at the same point try to make sure that they have a chance going to qualifying as one of the four best teams to finish third. With Czech Republic, at least Czech Republic have had a decent 2020 2021. They beat Albania, they beat Estonia, they drew to Belgium as well. They lost to Wales in a very tight game. They've beaten Slovakia as well. So they have quite a good chance. Czech Republic, I would probably say that Czech probably still for me slightly better favorites to finish third than Scotland, because Scotland, as much as people have talked about, and yes, Nathan, I have finished beating my eggs, so that's there. But yeah, I think Scotland for me still do not have that impetus with which you get with Ollie McBurney going forward. Shea Adams again is better functioning when it's with the two, and he needed McBurney there. For Czech Republic, again, a few good players here. Patrick Schick has been pretty good for Leverkusen last season. You've seen Thomas Suchek and how brilliant he's been for West Ham this entire season as well. So two players are in very good form. Kufal, another player for West Ham, who's done well in the last season, so he will be playing as well. They have a good team. Their record has been pretty decent. One thing that they will definitely be happy about is that this is a unit that has been playing together for quite a long time now. This has been a similar unit that's been playing since 2018, and apart from the bigger teams like England, Spain, Germany, you don't see a lot of changes in international teams. They usually stick to the squad that they have, and Czech are one of those teams who are going to stick to their squad. So it's quite promising in a way, because they have enough impetus in midfield and in attack. Again, the question mark comes whether the defense is going to be good enough. And I think between the two who are out of the automatic qualification spots, I think the defense is going to be crucial. And this is where I could slightly put Czech ahead, because they have better solidity in midfield to start their defensive base from. So I would think they have a good chance.
All right.
Also, on Kushagra, the fixture list is a little good for them, because they start with Scotland and Croatia, and then they end with England. So for them, if they get two good results, they're good enough.
I think you're right. You're right. I think basically to be one of the top four third teams, out of the 6 groups, if you want to be one of the top 4 teams there in terms of third place finishes, you do need a victory, and and then even a point in any of the other 2 matches will be more than enough for you to sail through as the third team. We saw Portugal. We spoke about this yesterday so many times. We saw Portugal literally draw their way to a trophy. And we would hope that we don't get such champions. Even if we do get Portugal winning it, we hope we do have Portugal winning it conventionally.
I don't mind as long as it's Germany, Kushagra. I don't mind.
All right. If I could ask you, Rege, for one final point on this particular group, if I were to ask you to make a prediction today, and we got England, Scotland, the Czech Republic, and of course Croatia as the 4 teams, what would be your top 3 to go ahead into the rest of the tournament, or top 2 and then possible third team?
Yeah, I would differ with Prathamesh on one point on Czech being the more dangerous out of the Scottish side compared to the Scotland side, because Scotland, is known to be very rigid defensively. The ideal team from UK, we saw what Iceland did, in the last Euros. So
Northern Ireland also could be an example. They reached
exactly. So what that does is, we've seen what the problem with teams like Croatia. Croatia, since the World Cup, as I said, hasn't been very prolific, in terms of goal scoring, and that's the kind of teams who could end up drawing against Scotland, which could be a very vital result. But I see Croatia scraping through, and I see England being at the top of this group, no matter what happens, because I feel they're just too good for any team right in that group. So, but Czech Republic also recently lost to Wales, who themselves aren't in the best of shape. So, doesn't look that good for them. I feel Scotland could give someone like Croatia trouble. You never know; they could even pull off an upset against England. But ideally it should be England and Croatia getting through, with some factor of Scotland pulling off that some 1-0 victory that is irritating to watch, but could be very vital.
All right. We move on to Group C. In Group C, it's sort of, I'm probably being a little unfair to the group, but if you look at the group, it's probably the group of the least entertaining teams. Even the most storied team in the group is a team which has been going through a very difficult time in the last 3-4 years, which is the Netherlands. But if you look
Yep.
beyond the Dutch, you've got the first timers into a tournament. To be honest, a real fairy tale of a story from for Macedonia, or as they're known as North Macedonia now, because of a few libel issues with Greece. But yeah, coming, the fantastic Goran Pandev, I think he's an hipster's choice when it comes to football. Football fans. I'm sure a lot of people remember him as one of the more functional parts of the front three that Jose Mourinho used at Inter. Goran Pandev, Diego Milito, both of them along with Samuel Eto'o, the three of them were fantastic that season. Those 2 seasons when he was there,
Yep.
they were absolutely marvelous. So I'd just like to come to you guys, and I'll start with you, Anurag, first. As we see, Nathan has pushed off. When it's not England, Brexit means Brexit. But of course, coming back to you,
Kushagra,
Anurag.
North Macedonia beat Germany in a World Cup qualifier.
Yeah. I
Sorry.
remember.
Wow.
Of
Does
course,
that tell you more about North Macedonia or supporting Germany?
I think it tells us
Honestly, it tells
everything
me
about
both.
Germany.
It honestly tells me why Euro 2024 is going to be the one I'm looking forward to and not this one.
Yeah, of course. Not
Wow.
just North Macedonia, but if you look at England's most recent opponents, Austria, the Netherlands, and of course Ukraine. These are the four teams in the group. Anurag, I'll start with you. We'll come to the Netherlands, in depth a little later. We'll discuss the other teams right now first. I think I'd like to start with Austria first, because that was the team, the team of Sabitzer and company, and Alaba as well,
Yep.
of course. The two of them
Yep.
more potent players, might I add. What do you make of Austria's chances? Because when I look at the group, I don't see that it would be that difficult for Austria to actually come out of this group, maybe even second at this point.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're. I'm not very sure about how their attack is going to pan out, because I think I was just looking at how some of their attackers have been playing across competitions. There is Adrian Kribic and there is Kalajdzic. Some people I'll be honest, I haven't even heard his name. Adrian Kribic. I've just checked out their performances in their respective leagues. They haven't been very good. So I mean, you can have as good a defense as you can, but if you're not scoring goals, you're not going anywhere, are you? So yes, I think this team, as you again, Marcel Sabitzer, one of Europe's most underrated and very brilliant midfielders, if I can say so, because he's been quite fabulous for Leipzig in the last few years. So you can pin a few hopes on there, and I think you can expect. I think the group, as you said, which looks a little too boring from an outsider perspective, I think that plays into Austria's hands as well, because I genuinely don't expect either North Macedonia or is it Ukraine? Yeah, Ukraine. I'm not 100% sure
Yeah.
if Ukraine have it in them to get past them. Yes, David Alaba, another who's just joined Real Madrid. Also, there's Stefan Leiner. I think Mönchengladbach, if I'm not
They've
wrong.
got
He's had
actually
a good
got a
season.
pretty good team. Yeah, they've got a
Yeah,
pretty good team, Anurag, because if you look at their players, 90%, 95% of the players are based in the Bundesliga, which is a fantastic level of competition, as you
exactly. Yeah,
mentioned. And as you were reading out the players, if you want to read out if you want to read out the players that stand out, I can
Martin
look at them
Hinteregger.
here.
Yep,
Of course, yeah, Martin Hinteregger, Julian Baumgartlinger, Christian Baumgartner, Frolin Grilic, you can see Sabitzer, of course, Leimer, as you said, Arnautovic, if you remember Marco Arnautovic, people would remember from West Ham and Stoke City, of course,
obviously.
Gregoritsch from Augsburg, Kaladzic, the Stuttgart, 6'7" striker that played against England. And beyond that, you've got in defense, you've got David Alaba and Dragovic as well. So I think that they will be again a low key difficult team for people to probably break down and score a lot against. But In terms of topping the group, do you think they can put in a surprise as compared to where as compared to Netherlands? Because Netherlands themselves, yeah, they look a little lost. Matlab, it's
Yep.
you. If you're really betting on Netherlands, you got to be a really brave man to bet on them. Really.
Yeah, I mean, you must be incredibly rich and jobless to be betting on Netherlands right now.
And also,
Yes,
you
And
must have
that's
had
without
true.
a taste
without
of
Van Dijk
Amsterdam.
and no Van Dijk. That's
No
what.
Van
Van
Dijk,
Dijk,
no
there
Van de
isn't Van
Beek.
Dijk. Yes.
Van
Uh,
Dijk is gone. Van Dijk has gone as the mascot, right?
And no bench as well.
As gone as
yeah.
the captain, as the confidence booster.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking back at and Matthias Delit and Daley Blind as a centre back combination. So I think that explains. With due respect to both the players, I think they're capable, but again, it doesn't look really strong. And yes, I think coming back to Austria's chances, yeah, I think that's going to be a tricky question. See, we have seen uh, form trumping over the the history of a particular team. We've seen Croatia absolutely thrash Argentina in the 2018 World Cup. How many people would have actually predicted Croatia to even win the game? Forget beating them 3-0. So these kind of surprises can happen, and this game I think is more or less on the similar lines. I mean, maybe history wise, obviously there is no competition, but on the day, you never know who's going to turn up. And Netherlands have not been very confident in recent months, as you've said. They've been playing that back three, which the Frank de Boer is so keen on playing it. People are not liking it. I don't know what kind of Johan Cruyff is trying to pull off here, but it's not working. And I think just going into this massive tournament, which is huge because I think they were not in the 2016 Euros and the 2018 World Cup, if I'm not wrong. This is their first major competition since 2014, where they reached the semi-final and bagged the third place finish. This is a huge competition for them. I mean, it's up until Ronald Koeman was there. I think it was working very well. In one sense, the way we were talking about Italy right now, I think we would have been talking about Netherlands the same way as one of the dark horses who've been playing well, who could have a decent chance. But ever since Koeman stepped down, I think it's gone down. So I think that is a possibility. I can't really pin my hopes 100% and say Austria are going to finish on top. But I think, yeah, I think Austria will eventually trump Ukraine and North Macedonia. I think that is something we can hope for.
All right, all right. If you look at, of course, the main protagonists of the group, that is Netherlands, we will look at them quickly. But before we do that, Pratmesh, I'll come to you. Any players that you might have your eye out for when it comes to North Macedonia or Ukraine? I think the number 10 from Leeds, Elioski,
Yeah.
is he? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Alioski would be
he's
the
from
wing
the.
back, yeah.
Yeah,
He's from
he
Leeds, yeah.
he's one of the main attacking threats from North Macedonia, along with Goran Pandev, as I
A
mentioned
fullback
earlier
who
as
wears
well.
number 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and of course, if you look at Ukraine, you've got Zinchenko, and you've got a few experienced players in the lineup in the Ukraine squad. But either of the two teams, anything that you're particularly looking out for, because I think these two teams could be vying for the third spot in this group.
Yeah, I mean, not that I'm particularly fond of North Macedonia after that Germany defeat and everything else. But yeah, see, they have had a very good 2020, 2019 as well, and they've carried that form over 2021. They've beaten teams who are more or less within their zone, but I think when you come into a tournament which is again for them, they absolutely have zero expectations coming into it, but they might just end up being one of those teams who could fight for potentially being the fourth best third team, in the competition. And you talked about Pandev, and we know how his utility within the forward line is pretty good. Alioski is very good as well. They've depended a lot on Trikowski as well. So they have some good players. They have players who over the years, even Enis Bardi has been pretty good for them in midfield. He is from Levante has done a massive job in midfield. And for teams like North Macedonia, the midfield is going to be a crucial one. So they have enough players, and the way they've played over the last couple of years at least, I think they've shown that they can put together a good performance again for them, how the fixtures work out is going to be massive as well, because they play Austria and Ukraine first. In any one of these games, if they can get a victory, especially against Ukraine, that puts them in the driver's seat to potentially get into that position. So it's nice how we talked about. I think even Czech Republic in Group D as well, and with Macedonia now, that fixtures have favored these guys a little, and I think they can make the most out of it. So massive hopes for them. But with Ukraine, the situation is a little different, because Ukraine, as I can see here, they start with the Netherlands, and then that massive game against Macedonia. With the Netherlands again, it's going to be a tough task for them. Reason being, you look at their defense. Their defense is experienced, but it's slightly on the over-experienced side as well. Zinchenko again, he will be a lot of focus will be on Zinchenko in this entire period as well. But their overall form again isn't too positive to bank on. They've drawn quite a few games in a row. France, Finland, Kazakhstan. They lost to Germany, Switzerland as well. So they've had quite some defeats going into this tournament, and which won't keep them in good stead. So if you were to pick one of those two, probably North Macedonia, because they look the more settled unit, the more confident unit going into it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll come to you, Rege. Rege, I'll just read out a few players from the Dutch squad, and we can quickly analyze, quickly go through them. First of all, let me add Frank de Boer. He doesn't have that many fans as such. He's been criticized quite heavily for his choice of system, for his choice of formation, even at times his choice of players in terms of the squad that he's final 11 that he selects. But if you have a look at the squad, of course, we've got the likes of Tim Krul and Stecklenburg. I can't.
How is Stecklenburg still there?
2010 or 20,
the problem. The problem with
Am I eyes right? Yes, Stecklenburg.
Yeah, he's a right man. He plays for Ajax.
The problem.
The official Dutch team website, Stecklenburg is part of the squad. How?
He is. The problem, I think, with the Netherlands is, once the golden generation passed, the Robins and Van Persies, the players that they banked upon,
Does it
Snyder.
feel like they passed? Does it
Snyder,
feel like
it's his birthday today. Don't miss out that name.
Yeah, sorry, Wesley Snyder as well.
Rege, 2010 में भी Stecklenburg ही था keeper.
Right. Yeah, he was the keeper.
Yep.
Stecklenburg was the keeper.
Van der Sar had retired. I remember Van der Sar had
Vroom.
retired after 2008.
Vroom.
Oh yeah, bro. Or was it this guy, the Swansea keeper? What's his name?
No. It was Stecklenburg.
No, it was Stecklenburg as far as I remember.
I remember quite clearly.
Vroom was also in the squad.
Yeah, he was in the squad.
Worm was there as well, right?
Wasn't he?
Michel Worm.
Yeah, Michel
Worm was there. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not Vroom.
So basically,
Not Vroom.
Netherlands have not updated the
Okay.
goalkeepers.
Netherlands recycle करती है यार. So Silason was part of the team, but Silason I think got COVID and he couldn't join the squad right at the death, and that is why one of the keepers has been changed. I don't know if Stecklenburg or Bizo. I'm assuming Bizo would have been the change-up because he's from AZ and Ajax won the Eredivisie, so I assume the Ajax keeper would have been called up.
Yeah, that was the case.
The problem with, as I was saying, the problem with the squad is ever since that golden generation passed, players that they hoped would step up in the form of all your Patrick Van Aanholts or Nathan Akes, none of them did it. So now they're stuck with, a few who play decent football and Memphis Depay. That funnily that day, I never follow Netherlands games, and I read on one of these football groups that Depay and Netherlands are on fire, and I checked the scoreline. It was Netherlands 2, Scotland 2. So I mean that's the level of expectations that the Dutch fans have these days. If they see a Memphis Depay scoring beating two players, they'll be like, "Wow, this has been the best moment in 5 years for us." So I mean, I don't have much to expect from this group, honestly. You never know what happens with the Netherlands as well. I think they're the Englands of the post 2010, pre 2014 era. Uh, and see, they have promising players. That's not the
That is
case.
you
But the
being
problem is
respectful.
Delight is
That is, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
See, Delight is not going to play again. Their best player, Van Dijk,
I
is out.
love I love how he's now called only Delight.
Tail it, tail it, tail it. But I mean,
Delete has to be a
Delight
delight
is
now because
legendary.
Van Dijk's a mascot.
it. I think they depend too much on Depay now. That's the only thing. If he steps up, they'll do something in this Euros. If it does not,
Yeah.
they'll still watch DVDs of the
Ejike,
2010 World Cup
one of
without the
the
final.
one of the major problem, according to me, is the two of their primary presences in the midfield, especially Frankie De Jong and Wijnaldum. They're good, but offensive contribution, they're more like box to box. You're not going to get Frank De Jong has had some good games this season, but overall offensive contribution has not been very significant from him. That's the same case with
I
Wijnaldum. He
think
does a
they,
lot of the dirty work.
yeah. I
So
think
I
they
think
need a
that's
brave
where
who they're
manager.
missing?
and they have to play.
Who, you
Yeah.
know who they're missing?
Donny van de Beek?
Anurag? No, Wesley Sneijder.
Wesley Sneijder.
They're missing a number 10. They're missing a
I think
number 10.
Robin.
Then actually,
True.
Robin आया ना वापस खेला ना अभी recently Eredivisie. He was crying also about it.
Yeah.
Because
Again, they also have
and,
Davy Klaassen and Martin de Roon. Both of them are defensive
yeah,
midfielders.
they've got the most throwback
Davy
squad
Klaassen-
ever. मैं पढ़ के बताता हूँ तुम लोग को. You know,
That-
in terms of पुराने players जो तुम लोग को याद होंगे, I'm sure you must remember Quincy Promes. Of course,
Kushagra,
you know,
David
Yes.
Klaassen has been up and coming for how many years now?
I think David
Uh,
Klaassen up and came and gone also now.
yeah,
I think one more
he was
injury
up
and
and
they'll.
coming.
I
He
think
was up and coming. He up and came to Germany, became very, very up and coming, and then went back to Netherlands. He landed back. He's at
And
He
came
came
to
to
Everton
England
also,
as
if
well
I'm
with
not wrong.
Everton. Yeah.
yeah, for a little while.
Everton.
Everton,
I
right?
think one
Everton.
more injury and
Yeah.
they'll call back Lajan and Talar.
हाँ मैं बता रहा हूँ
Yeah, I think you have Ryan Babel in the squad, by the way.
Yes, अरे भाई मैं बोला था ये तो throwback
Is he?
Most
Ryan-
throwback squad.
Yeah, मतलब
I
it's
don't
like
think- no, no, no.
Windows
Babel is
Windows
not
10
in the
पे
squad,
FIFA
yeah.
08
Babel's
खेलना.
not in the squad.
नहीं बाबल नहीं है thankfully. हाँ भाई exactly भाई नहीं मतलब पुराने players का अगर देखो
Which
तो
team am I seeing?
I think Luke De Jong याद होगा लोगों को Newcastle days now at Sevilla of course Davy Klaassen, Ryan Gravenberch is actually a player to look out for. Gravenberch
Yeah.
from Ajax of course. Then Denzel Dumfries, you guys must remember from PSV, is a player who's been there for a while on the international and the Eredivisie stage. Of course, we've got Daley Blind. I hope he's healthy and his health and heart is doing completely fine because those are the bigger worries for him. But beyond that, the likes of Nathan Ake, Patrick Van Aanholt, Joel Weltman.
Kushagra, you talked about Wijnaldum, right? There is a Liverpool fan who couldn't digest it.
Wijnaldum has 14 goals in the last 23 games for Netherlands, as says Sushil. That's fantastic, actually, for Wijnaldum.
Although I love
not-
Sushil's DP, that's the best part about the comment.
Yeah, that's from a time long ago. But yeah, I'll take the comments and then I'll come to you guys for final predictions for this group. Nathan says it's coming home. I don't know. Only thing that's coming home is disappointment. Sulak says Jack Grealish will be key. Nathan says, and Sulak was on a personal mission to make sure Nathan did not have any
This
hopes.
was beautiful.
When it came, England are the Arsenal of international football. When they're bad, they're bad. When they're good, they're still bad. ये कहीं इसका सुमित का अलग ही चल रहा है. Since there've been rumors of Rutraj Gaikwad actually going to Sri Lanka, Sumit seems to have really taken that to his head. RR is going to the playoffs courtesy Livingstone. Okay, all right. Came here for my boy Scotty, says Ole. All right, Ole. Scotty. People do rate him. I think I was looking at this. I was looking at this Ben Foster interview yesterday for the United Stand, and he also said that the players at Watford rate Scott McTominay in terms of the United players that they rate.
Should he move to Watford? Is that a call?
I don't know. I don't know. Everyone apart from United rates Scott McTominay, which is very strange.
Jurgen
You know,
Klopp said good things about McTominay once upon a time.
मुझे तो लगता है everyone's just taking the piss. They just want us to play McTominay. That's why हम लोग को सुनाते रहते हैं और हम लोग बन के खिलाते रहते हैं and you know बस that's the scene. So like is Rangers a domestic heavy squad? Not
No.
really, Sulakh. If you go have a look
Good
at the
point.
squad,
Yeah,
they've got a
not really. Yeah,
lot of Englishmen,
I
lot
just
of lower
looked
league
at. Yeah.
Englishmen. Yeah, and a lot of players from Central and Eastern Europe, even you know even the likes of France and you know the Netherlands and all. I doubt it. He says Nathan says make sure you stop beating eggs, PP. He did. Nathan, England will go deep into the tournament, but I don't see them winning it. All right, Akshay. I mean, deep here basically round of 16 is going to be tough for them. If they end up getting what we think they will get, I don't see them going past round of 16. Excited for Billy Gilmore. Yeah, I think you know I would hope that he is a starter for them. Let's see how that goes. Fullbacks can wear
I'm
the number 10
archaic.
on the bottom.
I'm a nationalist.
Back to Big Sam for back to Big Sam ball for you and
Has he been retired?
Netherlands. Yeah, Netherlands main issue is the coach. He is
Yeah.
Sushil is spot on. The Netherlands' biggest issue is of course the coach, and you know,
Yeah,
frankly,
see,
De Jong does
you
keep
know,
getting pointers.
yeah, one point around that. You know what? The legacy that Joachim Low or whatever his name is built with Germany.
Yeah.
I think it was based on the fact that he transformed that defensively heavy team to a brave attacking football team, and that has lasted for 14 years. I think that's what Netherlands needs right now. You know, you look at De Boer, he plays five at the back. Two of his three midfield players are all defensive minded. Probably you then rely on only someone like a Dippa, you know, to bring all the creativity and the goals. That's never going to work. They have that kind of talent if you look at it. But if you're going to be, I mean, if in a land far, far away, that's a problem with the Indian football team as well. But let's leave that to another day. But they need someone who's more brave than that, you know, who plays out there, does not worry about the results because that's not going to take them a long way from here.
They need
They've
LVG
gone
back.
nowhere. Yeah, absolutely.
Nahin,
Let's
that's the same
stick to a manager who plays football.
Yeah. Well, LVG, but yes, I think Netherlands.
I
का
mean,
issue है.
you know,
The coach-
you associate Netherlands with beautiful football, like historically, like itna bada history hai unka, the total football and all of that nonsense. From there to watching this is obviously you can imagine why the Dutch fans are upset with Frank de Boer if you look at it in that sense.
They might need
हाँ, नहीं.
need another Frank in there. You know, you never. Someone like a Frank Lampard is out of job.
Yeah.
ये देखो. Yeah, sure.
देखो आज नाम सिद्धार्थ रे
ये
डाला
ये
एजेंडा तो
Lampard
लाइसेंस
इतना सीवी नहीं भेज रहा है कि
What
ये जो कर
nonsense!
रहा है ना,
Look at this.
he's also
Look
not
at
doing that
this.
much.
Just
Look at
Yeah,
this.
I was going to mention this 5 minutes back. Yeah.
What a fucking joke!
So for our fans,
मतलब हमने
Real
इतना
Madrid,
नौटंकी किया.
Barcelona, Juventus will not pay any fine.
I just read today,
I remember.
the Premier League clubs have been fined 20 million pounds.
Yeah. They will be fined if they join another one. Currently, they're fined like 3.5 million per team.
3.5 per team, but
Yeah. They will be fined 20.
Oh,
You remember
Real
that
Barcelona,
comment?
UVA का तो उतना भी नहीं फाइन किया.
You remember that comment from, like, this is because I'm high on Formula One right now, but you remember Lewis Hamilton talking about cash is king when the Austrian Grand Prix was being not being postponed rather because of COVID. This is what it is, right? You talk about the everything that these guys bring to the table in terms of money, and it's absolutely nothing that is being. The suspensions of sanctions will only apply to. I still don't get what they're going to do with them, but it's very difficult to understand how these guys haven't been banned from the competition yet. I mean, I think probably that would be a step.
Sorry to interrupt, but this is totally out of my understanding. This is totally out of my understanding.
I don't get it. So you mean to
the
say
suspension of sanctions will only apply to Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus? And the 9 clubs that publicly left Super League
The only thing,
give away
the only way
5%
this
of their
makes
revenue.
sense
What the
if
fuck
they're
is this?
planning a bigger punishment. If they're planning a bigger punishment,
What is
only
a bigger
that makes
punishment?
There is no bigger punishment, said. This is just basically you look
Or
at the
the
amount
truth
of
is they
fans
don't
at
have the balls
Madrid,
to hug these
Barcelona.
people.
Right, they don't have that. They don't have that.
Surprising.
Yeah, they left Man City away, dude. Like QPR did a much lesser significant problem, and they were fined massively by the EFL, and
Yeah.
Man City were just let go. So we have
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
this before. It's not surprising anymore.
ये तो दुनिया में होता ही है ना यार, जिसके पास पैसा
Yeah.
होता है, they can get away with more things. I think it's quite very well
Oh, Shushil
replicated
has
in
given a
every walk
40
of life.
rupee super chat. Wow.
This is why they haven't been banned. ये देखो क्या है, हम लोग का ऐसे ही बर्बाद होगा. Okay,
And we are
boys.
getting 22 rupees.
For sure.
Thank you.
We are getting 22 rupees only.
No, lovely. Sushil,
Thank you,
thank you
Sushil.
so much. That's kind. It's very kind of you. I can't even see the.
You remember,
Yeah,
Ajay,
remember
Pepsi
the
खरीदेंगे
reaction from
कुछ
all the people when we got a super chat for the first time, and look at the reaction now.
No, yaar, I
Yeah.
would really like it if it was someone I didn't know this well. If it was someone who was just watching the content, and हम लोग चैनल पे बैठे अपनी बेइज्जती कर रहे हो, बात अलग है. But yes, coming back to the crux point of things, this is why they haven't been banned. As I still don't. Sushil, if you could explain to us, what does this particular comment mean? What does it
Because
mean?
they gave money to the UEFA.
नहीं, मुझे समझ नहीं आया. साले.
Yeah, this is unacceptable. How are
नहीं,
Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus
देखिए.
not banned from the competition?
अनुराग एंड रेगे एंड प्रथमेश, मुझे एक बार बात समझाओ. ये कहता है, ये मैसेज कह रहा है कि रियल, बार्सा और यूवेंटस कोई फाइन नहीं पे करेगा और बैन भी नहीं
Right.
होंगे, क्योंकि
Right.
डिसिप्लिनरी प्रोसीडिंग ही सस्पेंड हो गई है.
Right.
बट ये मैसेज कहता है सस्पेंशन ऑफ सैंक्शंस will only apply to Real, Barca and Juventus. 9 जो बाकी क्लब है वो 5% देंगे, तो आप क्या रियल को 7.5% पे अद्धा करके छोड़ोगे?
यार पॉइंट ये है ना कुशाग्र कि they have basically found a way to safeguard Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus. The reason why I see, like, probably the reason that they might give is because
internet lag, man.
maybe they feel that Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus being there in the Super League might try to recreate it again if they find them, which, I mean, I know it doesn't make any sense, but that's how UEFA works. So
are they letting go Real Madrid and those two teams?
They are letting go of them.
Look at what
So
Vipul is saying later. Look at what Vipul is saying later. If UEFA hadn't suspended the sanctions against Madrid and against the three, Alexander Seferin would have been arrested. All right. This is because UEFA received
Yeah, is this UEFA or is this the Godfather series?
हाँ, ये क्या है? Telling them to immediately suspend the action.
Imagine 12
मुझे एकदम याद आ गया.
चोरी करके भागे.
सुन
12 चोर चोरी करके
डायलॉग
भागे.
याद आ गया. दुबई से भाई का फोन आया था, यही करने का है, तो चुपचाप बैठ और लोखंड वाले पे जा, तू अब तेरा काम वही होगा.
Kushagra, this is I mean, from what I've read, it's basically because Seferin knew the plans of Real Madrid and Barcelona and Juventus.
You know the Gokuldam Premier League is run better than this.
Bro, हम लोग FIFA टूर्नामेंट ज्यादा अच्छे से कर रहे हैं यार.
Yeah,
quite of a technical glitch.
इतनी टेक्निकल.
नहीं, वही बात हुई ना. What I was saying कि जो चोरी करके वापस आया उसको जेल में डाल दिया और जो चोरी किया उनको छोड़ दिया. I mean, it does not make sense on any level, यार. मतलब
this is like I will not be surprised in 5 days time someone will come and say Seferin was the person who actually chipped in with the idea.
I won't be surprised.
Why does he keep crying about the fact that it is personal with the Juventus owner? It is personal with what's his name? The guy who left. Forgetting his name.
Edward what?
Agnelli. Right?
Agnelli, yeah.
Agnelli, right? So I don't understand. Like, वो इतना he has such a massive issue with Agnelli कि नहीं, it's all personal. He's really broken my trust. This and that. I don't know. Was the concept
He sounds
of
like he was in a relationship with Agnelli.
Yeah. Was the concept of actually suspending the ESL or trying to get these clubs out of Europe illegal? How is it illegal? didn't they break the charter by trying to overrule the UEFA itself? I don't know. इतना कैसे डर सकती है UEFA यार? They have no jurisdiction. That means they are nothing. हम लोग जोक समझ रहे थे इतने सालों से.
I mean, massive kudos to Florentino Perez.
What
How he pulls
No,
these
what-
things off is beyond me.
what a few pages are
Massive
saying
kudos.
they have, that punishment has been delayed because these three clubs have agreed to pay some settlement. Is what a few websites.
Yeah,
are
so
saying.
UEFA
that still
UEFA
makes
see,
2%
like
more
finance-
sense than what
Yeah.
you've read.
Usually with UEFA and the financial fair play, most of these teams have a settlement clause with the UEFA that they will pay extra fine, but they won't get banned from the competition. And it is just not with the FFP; it is with any regulation or any sanction that UEFA makes. So that is a settlement agreement that most of the top clubs have, and I think these guys will be having the same because they don't want to get banned from the competition. So it's so tricky because
among the many crazy things Florentino Perez has done, I thought pulling off the Zidane transfer from Juventus to Real Madrid for 76 million back in 2003-04.
Yeah.
I thought that was the craziest thing, but this beats it, man. This is unbelievable.
This beats it, man. And I mean, massive kudos to him on a business point of view because how he managed to
This
get
just
away with these
shows-
things.
shows where the power lies
Yeah.
in football. We talk
I mean, yeah,
about
the guy
UEFA
wanted to
everything.
convert football into
It's
60-minute
with
games.
Papa Perez.
So,
Yeah, this
Yeah.
just proves the fact UEFA can't touch him no matter what he does. Absolutely can't do anything to him.
so he's basically is this UEFA saying that Real Madrid alone, or maybe Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus, the three of them are bigger clubs and bigger markets than any of the Premier League teams, other Spanish teams, Italian teams combined for them? Do they think that these three clubs, in their own essentiality individually, are more important to them than any of the other 29 teams that take part in the Champions League, that those 48 teams that take part in the Euro? Yes.
नहीं प्रथमेश मेरे पूछे यूवेंटस की कहां से इतनी चौड़ हो गई भाई? उन्होंने क्या किया? एक
अरे
लीग जहां पे कोई
पता ना,
खेलता
ये
ही नहीं
right
था,
है।
उसे जीतते रहे.
Bro, you guys.
I'm telling you, Kushagre, if it wasn't for Ronaldo, इतना भी नहीं होता.
You guys remember that episode from Tom and Jerry, where Tom goes and he draws a line. There is the dog, the blue colored dog, whose name we don't know. Quite funny.
Yeah.
The dog he draws a line. वो एक सर पे मार के पीछे आ जाता है.
वहां पे आके
The dog only reaches that line. Yeah, exactly. That you know who UEFA is, who Florentino Perez is in this situation.
रील मिल गया, रील मिल गया.
रील मिल गया.
We know
Anurag jokes.
UEFA is Perez's bitch. We've gotten to know that today, but which is very fair because I think they've been treated like one, if nothing else. But this is marvelous. अगर ये जोक हुआ कि इनको कुछ हुआ ही नहीं, मतलब इन्होंने पूरी एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ यूरोपियन फुटबॉल पे इतना बड़ा सा डंप लिया और कुछ किसी ने साफ भी नहीं किया. वो पड़ा है.
I won't be surprised if the next news we read is UEFA joining the Super League.
मुझे तो यही लग रहा है.
It all started with us being shocked. Then we were disappointed. Then we were trying to analyze it.
Now
and now
we've
we are
accepted
laughing.
it.
Look at the cycle. Yeah, we've accepted it.
We accepted it. Of course.
These guys, I mean,
हम लोग तो प्रेडिक्शन भूल ही गए भाई इसकी वजह से. बॉयज ग्रुप में कौन से टीम्स I've got of course Netherlands, Ukraine, North Macedonia, and who was the fourth team? Austria.
Remember Austria? Yeah.
Austria. Yeah, I did remember.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I feel Netherlands win all three, and they might go as far ahead as the quarterfinals this time. I have a massive feeling that in spite of everything that's going wrong with them, they might just end up doing the right things at the end. So for me, they go through, and I am giving a shocker for the second. It's going to be North Macedonia and not Austria.
Second, North Macedonia.
Yeah.
Just because they beat Germany.
Yeah, just because they beat Germany. At least उतना जीतने के बाद एटलीस्ट कुछ तो अच्छा और करके ही जाओ ना, मतलब before you again go into that
If you
landslide.
remember, Timo Werner gave that win to North Macedonia.
I don't want to talk about it, Anurag. We are not talking about that game ever.
I don't care till July.
We never talk about this game on live. Yeah.
भाई तुमको तो Haaland मिलने
Yeah.
वाला है. We'll talk about transfer rumors as well over the weekend. And
Haaland, yes.
What about you, Rege? What about you? Who are the top 2/top 3 for you?
I think I'll go for Austria too, because I feel they still have superior individuals compared to the other two teams. And Netherlands, Topsy Turvily will finish number 1 in that group. I don't see big difference between 1 and 4, honestly, to be in this group. So that those two teams, I'm gonna be. It's 1920. I'm gonna go with Netherlands and Austria.
It's proper socialism, right? Like we
कुशाग्र ये जो group है ना,
सारे बच्चे equal level पे हैं एकदम.
I believe in
equal
socialism,
competition. Yes.
this group was made so that fans can have a break between the Euros.
Yeah, but it's a pretty like, I mean, I'm sorry guys, ये थोड़ा unprofessional sound करेगा, but it's one of those groups in which you sleep. You don't wake up to watch these matches. ये rest days वाले matches होते हैं, so ऐसे एक आध groups हैं इसमें, so जो कि हम लोग rest करेंगे, and these guys will reach the round of 16, तब भी हम लोग rest करेंगे, फिर quarter finals से तो हम लोग properly देख ही लेंगे, don't worry. But yeah, Anurag, what about you? Who are the top 2, top 3 for you?
I'm gonna make a bit of a controversial, I mean not controversial, a little hatke wala prediction. I think Austria are gonna finish top and Netherlands to finish second in that group. And in the other group, I just have a feeling Croatia just don't have the legs, and which Scotland might have, as Siddharth was telling, they could pull off those one or two 1-0 wins, which are extremely boring, not worthy of watching. But they'll just get those 3 or 6 points, which are just about enough to keep them second. I think that is going to happen with Scotland. So in Group D, I think it's going to be England and Scotland.
All right. Fair enough. And we'll take the final few comments. This is actually quite a scathing and depressing statement here at the United Fans Forum, which Shivam has told us.
By the way, just a small news. Since we are talking about England, Gareth Southgate is considering playing Luke Shaw at centre back against Croatia. England have been practicing a 3-4-3 formation as well as a 4-man defense to find a solution in the absence of Maguire.
Luke Shaw plays.
Henderson is definitely right wing then. Henderson is definitely right wing.
So basically, you're talking about
I think
Luke Shaw
Dean
and Reece
Henderson, yeah,
James
Jordan.
and John Stones.
Dean Henderson on the right.
Yeah. No, wait, Anurag, do you realize this potentially means that Luke Shaw and Reece James and John Stones play as the defensive 3, and only one of them is a centre back?
No. I don't think Reece James plays as the defensive 3 then. I think Kyle Walker.
No.
Only one of them is a centre back, right?
I think it's
only one of them is a centre back.
You can classify Kyle Walker as a RCB. Yeah? He's played there enough for England. He's played there enough for City. Same thing with Luke Shaw. Whenever United plays 5 or 3 at the back, whenever United do that, Luke Shaw is the one who tucks in. And Luke Shaw is deceptively tall. He's 6'1", and he's very good in the air. He is a commanding presence in the box. And in terms of the players that England have, I think could be one of the better players, even in terms of a ball-playing centre half, if you might add it that way. But yes, I'll take the comments here. I have complete and utter lack of surprise that the 3 big clubs left won't be punished by the UEFA. They tested the limits of what UEFA could do, and frankly, they won. And they have. And this is what was said at the United Fans Forum, which the sham that Joel Glazer created and attended, and the flagrant lie he sold to the fans. Once again, fans got excited about Jadon Sancho. Never came, did he? Never came. Nothing happened. Squat nil poor. But yeah, that's what happens with the Glazers. So yeah, Oles Juju says meanwhile my transfer budget has been taken away due to the fine. Of course, 3.5 million ही था, तो खत्म ही हो गया. People says meanwhile City fans to these 3. तुम झोल करो तो रास लीला, हम करें तो कैरेक्टर ढीला. हाँ भाई. But in the end क्या होता है? दोनों को कुछ नहीं होता.
क्या नॉर्वेज सिटी की बात कर रहा है क्या?
Mohsin is back. Mohsin bhai, kaise ho? PSL is back. Hope you're watching and great to see Faulkner back. Yes, the very first match of the PSL kicked off
looks
today.
like David Warner, by the way, today.
Is that so? I've not seen James Faulkner today.
He has that exact mustache which David Warner has, and it deceptively, it's so very deceptive. I suggest you guys go and look for the photos of
It's
this.
a classic Australian moustache in a way.
Yeah, so I know Islamabad United have scored 143 for 9 in their 20 overs. Typical UAE score. I think it will be a fighting score. I can't see. Fahim Ashraf scored 27 or 24, but no one else even got a 20. And in terms of bowling, let me see. James Faulkner got 3 wickets, guys. Faulkner got 3, Rauf got 2, and Ahmed Danial also got 2. Rashid Khan, guys, Rashid Khan ki figures here. I mean, I know no one is surprised when I speak them out. It's 4 overs, 1 wicket, no maidens, and 9 runs.
9 runs.
Oh, wow, 9 runs.
Unreal.
Yeah.
No run. तो 2020 चल रहा था, बस एक बार मतलब क्लैरिफाई कर दूं सब लोगों के लिए. So yeah, unbelievable, yeah. All right, but yes, Mohsin, we will be covering the PSL. We will be covering all of the cricket. We just wrapping up the Euro groups. I think we'll be down to the final 2 groups tomorrow, and then we can come back wholeheartedly with cricket, and we'll also have post match. Hopefully first day's play from England versus New Zealand second Test match. जिसमें कि Kane Williamson is out. What we've gotten to know, Mitchell Santner is out also as well, and they might be resting Tim Southee as well for that Test match because I think Tom Latham has been named as the captain while Southee is the vice captain. So we'll talk about this tomorrow. Southgate has so many full gaps. Can he give me a backup for AWB? Ole says. Ole, if that is so, Reece James ले लो, Chelsea से और क्या? बस perfect है.
We're getting Trippier, right? We're getting Trippier for 10 million.
Atletico Madrid have rejected a bid for 10 million, by the way.
40 million euros कह रहे हैं Atletico Madrid, by the way.
Are they nuts? Oh my god.
All right.
Nathan Ake's value is 50 million. So क्या Trippier does not deserve 40 million?
और क्या? बिल्कुल.
यार, Maguire is 80 million in our market. So.
As Anurag has put a transfer rumor in the chat as well. Talked about Marcus Thuram leaving Mönchengladbach this summer. He's in talks with Tottenham. It is a priority of the club. Sources close to the English club explained that the discussions have advanced in the recent days. Marcus, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Why are you going to Spurs?
Yeah, I mean,
what?
Spurs.
भाई Villa चले जा, Aston Villa चले जा भाई.
Aston Villa, Leicester, these are much better prospects than Tottenham. I mean,
but ठीक है चलो.
And that from Mönchengladbach.
Maybe as a manager. Maybe as a manager.
Yeah, he's the son of Lilian Thuram.
Yeah, maybe Lilian Thuram is going as a manager.
No, he's not.
Oh, who knows? All right, boys. Thank you so much for joining here. We discussed 4 out of 6 groups. We'll finish the other 2 groups tomorrow, and of course, we'll be having a look at the cricket that goes on tomorrow. Whether it is the PSL match today, Lahore Qalandar versus Islamabad United. Lahore need 144 to win in their 20 overs. Their innings is yet to start, and the other 2 football groups. We'll see. Guys, the India-Afghanistan match tomorrow itself, or is it day after? I think it's tomorrow, right?
It's tomorrow. Yeah, it's tomorrow.
We'll also have the result of the India-England match, and it's an India-Afghanistan match, and we'll let you know.
It's on 15th actually.
Oh, it's on the 15th.
Yeah, India-Afghanistan is on 15th. Yeah.
Oh, that's quite a long time. Okay, all right. So we still have good 5-6 days for that. You are getting Hakimi. Shut the fuck up, Rege. All right. Let's see, Ole, if they do get that. Pratmesh, Anurag, Rege, and of course Nathan who joined us earlier. Thank you so much to all of you guys. Guys, we did the next episode for the unpopular opinions with Mr. Norcross, Daniel Norcross today. It dropped. Some real funny moments there. Just a little bit of a balm to the New Zealand fans as well. Do check it out. Do let us know what is your opinion on that episode, and if there are any unpopular opinions you'd like answered we'll keep reacting to them ourselves, and we'll keep trying to get people on board to react to them. Up until then, this is me, Kushag, signing off, and we'll see you soon.